Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. Tonight I'm going to be doing my second episode of the Shock to the Past series. If you're new to my channel and you haven't seen this before, the Shock to the Past series are extreme films that shocked audiences from the 60s, 70s and 80s and that helped shape cinema for what it is now. So today, for episode 2, we're going to go to France for a movie made in 1975 directed by Valerian Baralchik, and this movie is called The Beast. So The Beast has a lot of notoriety behind it because of one scene in particular that features explicit sexual content between a woman and an animal. And so this was the movie that had been banned from Australia for 25 years, but finally it's been released uncut, so I had to pick up a copy and see for myself if it does live up to the hype, and I can tell you that it certainly does. So basically the story is about an arranged marriage between this man who's very insecure, doesn't like himself, sees himself as ugly, and he has a beautiful wife-to-be who's coming to the remote countryside to visit him. But because he's so insecure, he doesn't really want anything to do with her, so there's a lot of sexual frustration with this woman. So she spends her days by fantasizing about sexual encounters, and she pleases herself by doing this. But then it all adds up to one of the most shocking scenes ever, where there is a woman in the woods who gets lost and she runs into the path of the Beast, which is this animal presence located in the forest nearby, and it doesn't go the way you would expect it. So that's basically all I'm going to tell you on the story. If you want to know what this notorious film has in store for you, then you're definitely going to have to go out and check it out for yourself. So as I said, this is one of the most extreme films ever made as far as sexuality is concerned, and I can really appreciate it because it really set the standard as far as European cinema will go. So when it comes to French cinema in modern times, they are known for pushing the envelope, and I think this is an influence from the days of The Beast. And 1975, Valerian Baralchik has been known to really test audiences, but I think The Beast really tests audiences that the most they've ever been tested, especially back then. This is a movie that is as close to a porn film that you will get without actually being a porn film. It's got extreme sexual explicit content, and it's not afraid to interweave animals with humans, and it's basically showing you sexuality and how us as human beings aren't that different from animals. Yeah, animals have that sexual urge, and so do humans, but he does take it down a corridor that you will not expect. And so this is definitely a film that you have to watch by yourself, because if someone else walked in and actually saw what you were watching, you're going to have to explain yourself, and it'll be very difficult, because it's one of those films that is one of the most uncomfortable experiences that you'll ever see, but it's also one of those experiences where you can't really take your eyes off it. So the director does a great job at actually forcing you to watch taboo subjects, and this is a movie that indicates how secure and how self-aware the actual French cinema is, and especially European cinema in general. It's a lot more different from Australia, Britain and America, and in fact this film would never have made it in those countries because of how insecure we are. So when it comes to nudity, you know, the Europeans have always been a lot more secure with that. They're not as offended, and so it's a lot harder to offend a European audience, so the directors have to push it that step further. And it's a clear indication, the example of the fact that we are not very secure in this was the simple fact that it had been banned for so long. And so Valerian Baralchik, he does give you a very, very bizarre look at sexuality and look at how similar we are to the animals that surround us. And so it's a very quirky film, it's a very dreamlike film, and it's got that dreamlike trance where I couldn't help but be transfixed as to what was going on. So you got very quirky characters, you got very quirky situations, and it's sporadically put where there's a very extreme scene of sexuality that really wakes you up. And so that is a problem, because apart from the sexual scenes that are very extreme, nothing else really is going for it. I mean, the characters are very quirky, but I kept feeling as though I was dozing off a little bit, and then an extreme scene of sexuality will be thrust into the film, and it felt as though that was the shot in the arm. That was basically just tapping you on the head and waking you up. And then you'll start to doze off again, then another shocking scene of sexuality will come, and that's once again another thing to revive the audience. And so it almost felt as though Valerian Baralchik was aware of this, that the audience wasn't going to be captivated when it wasn't actually extreme, so after a while he'd have to wake you up so you didn't doze off completely. And so that's ultimately the biggest problem to the film, is that it's very unconventional in its way of storytelling, and I just thought that the movie relies on its notoriety of being extreme as opposed to actually creating a film that is going to feel like an overall piece. But having said that, as I said, it's very well shot. It does have that very morbid, dreamlike atmosphere. It felt like a very morbid version of Beauty and the Beast, but it's basically an indication of where European cinema cinema is, and how far behind we are as far as sexuality is concerned on film from countries like the USA, Australia and Great Britain. So there's a massive gap between that, and I think The Beast really does summarise what that gap is, and that is down to the fact that, as I said, it was been banned for so long where I live. So the ending was the end scene. I was just so shocked by what was going on. I started laughing, and I don't know if that was just a laughter out of being so being so uncomfortable, or just it does have a very quirky way about it, and the music was very, very funny. But something there's no real penetration. As I said, this is the most sexually explicit film that's not a pornography, but it does show you full frontal male and female nudity, and also animal genitalia, and it also shows a lot of bodily fluid. So it's very, very offensive, very hard to get through. But if you are a fan of extreme cinema and you haven't tracked down and had a look at The Beast, I would highly recommend it. It's not the greatest story, but it does live up to its reputation as being one of the most shocking films ever made. So it's not the masterpiece that a lot of people say it is, but I can really appreciate it for what it's done for modern cinema. Alright guys, that's it for my second episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.